Hey guys, Credible Crypto here. This video is going to be something different. Obviously, I normally talk about crypto on my channel, but there's one other sector that I'm heavily invested in that I have a lot of confidence in, and that is the uranium sector. And so this video is going to be talking about that sector. I know that a lot of crypto enthusiasts have also ventured into this sector, not only because the potential gains are crypto-like gains here, but also because it just makes sense from a fundamental perspective. And I think a lot of crypto investors who've done their due diligence on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies have done their due diligence on the uranium sector and have found that the argument for a new bull run in the uranium sector is a very valid argument, and the gains are quite massive as well. So the potential, at least, for the gains are quite massive. So in this video, guys, I'm going to talk about a few uranium stocks. There's three or four in particular that I have my eye on, that I'm heavily invested in. I've chosen these three or four uranium stocks because, from a technical perspective, what I'm seeing on the charts is telling me that they could have started their next bull cycles. There's about 8 to 10 other uranium stocks that I'm interested in, but these other 8 to 10 don't show me what I want to see on the charts from a technical perspective. Fundamentally, the entire sector is bullish in my opinion, and it's just a matter of time before it starts taking off. But from a technical perspective, there's 3 to 4 charts that I really like, that have me convinced that these particular stocks are kind of leading the way for this next bull run. And so I'm going to talk about those few stocks here from a technical perspective. They're all at key pivotal points here, guys. They're all at key pivotal points. I'm not going to talk about the fundamentals in this video very much. I think it's something that you guys need to research yourselves because it's huge. The fundamental aspect of this sector is something that I would highly recommend anyone who's even considering investing research before they invest a single penny into this sector, because without the fundamentals, if you ignore the fundamentals completely, the charts look like utter and complete crap, all right, from a high time frame perspective. On the lower time frames, because I know the fundamentals and I'm looking for signs of a new bull cycle starting, on the lower time frames I can see bullish signs. But from a high time frame perspective, all the charts look like absolute crap. They've fallen down many 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% from their highs. They're at the absolute bottom, essentially. I don't think they can, I mean, they really can't fall much lower because they're so close to zero at this point. So from a high time frame perspective, the charts look terrible, and anyone who isn't aware of the fundamental arguments behind this sector would never invest in this sector and shouldn't invest in this sector. So if you are going to invest, or if you're considering investing, please do your own research. Look into the fundamentals of the sector and the segment and why I'm so bullish on it and why so many others are so bullish on it. And do your due diligence, guys, before you invest in this sector. Once you have done that, once you've done your due diligence, then you can take a look at my technical analysis and go from there and see if it makes sense for something that you may be interested in, all right? But for this video, guys, I think that at this point in time, these 3 or 4 uranium stocks I'm about to show you guys are at a pivotal point in their cycles. They're at a point where, at least one of them is, at a point where we could see this could be the absolute low before we hit new local highs, which would be a 200 to 300% gain just to start off. Or if we lose this particular level, we could be back into a consolidation phase for a period of months before we eventually ramp up. Another important thing about all my uranium investments, these are long time frame plays. I'm talking multi-year plays, anywhere between 2 to 5 years that I'm planning on holding these stocks for. So I'm not day trading these. I'm not trading them like I trade crypto. These are long-term holds that I will be holding for a period of years before selling. I do think the upside potential is massive, but I also know that these stocks move a lot slower than crypto does. And so you need to have patience when you're playing these, and you need to keep the big picture in mind. If you get caught up in the small time frames, you will get washed out, and that's not what we're trying to do here. So all these things considered, guys, the 3 stocks or 4 stocks that I'm going to cover in this video are UUUU Energy Fuels Inc. The second one is going to be NXE NextGen. And the third one is going to be GOVX, GVXXF are the tickers for these 3 stocks. I'm going to tell you guys why I'm interested in them, why I'm invested in them, and what I'm seeing from a technical perspective that's telling me that we're at the point of maximum financial opportunity if these levels are held. All right, if these levels are lost, we will likely consolidate for a longer period of time. But for now, these are the key levels that I'm looking at, and I think we're at essentially a make it or break it point here. All right, so let's start off with Energy Fuels Inc., which is my primary holding right now. And very briefly, I'm going to touch on the Elliott wave count. I'm not going to focus on it here, but for those that aren't aware of it, I'll just go over it very, very briefly here. So in Elliott wave, there's a few things that we can look for that can give us more information about the count. And those, the first major thing is we look for triangles, right? So whether they're expanding in this sense or contracting in this sense, triangles will only occur during a fourth wave or an X wave, essentially during the last leg of the move, and the triangle will signal that there's only one more leg of the move to come before the move is completed, whatever that move may be, right? So let's go ahead and actually log form makes this nice and easy to see. So taking a look at the current chart, all right, and just to give you guys, actually, let me preface this with, let's go to the Canadian exchange where Energy Fuels is listed on, because that shows us more price history, just to give you guys an idea of how low we are compared to prior highs. Let's take a look right here, Energy Fuels Inc. on the Canadian exchange. If we zoom out, guys, you can see that during the last bull market in 2007, at the peak of the bull market, Energy Fuels Inc. was trading at 273 Canadian dollars. Now, there was a reverse stock split somewhere along the way, I believe in 2013. So the drop isn't as drastic as it looks from 274 to 246. But the point that I'm trying to make, guys, is if we zoom out, we can see that we've seen a major crash since the last bull run that ended in 2007. And ever since then, we've been grinding here on the bottom. What's different, though, is over the last couple of years, we've seen an increase in volume coming in. Price has not been moving up, but volume has been coming in. And as we know, volume precedes price. This is an indication of accumulation. Essentially, the bigger players are starting to buy in large quantities, anticipating the next leg to start. All right, so that's why we're seeing this volume spike. At least that's my interpretation of it. All right. So now that we have this in mind and we can see how low we are off the highs, let's go ahead back to the other chart that I'm charting, which is the US dollar version, and let's take a look at what I'm seeing here. So again, not going to go too much into Elliott wave, but we look for these triangles signaling a second to last correction here. Let's go ahead and log scale, makes it a little bit easier to see. And then we have what looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down to this low. The fourth leg here was also a triangle, telling us that we have one more leg to the downside before this leg completes. We got that leg to the downside, and then we saw what I believe to be our first impulsive leg up of the new bull market. All right. Another key thing to know here, guys, we were consolidating here in this range at around $2.46, and once we lost it, we quickly dropped to $1.29. This is capitulation, in my opinion, guys. This is the final drop that we'd expect to see, with a 50% drop in value after the fourth leg. This was the fifth leg, in my opinion, and it completed our bearish cycle here. All right. So this is why I think that essentially we've completed here. The wave count makes sense with the fourth wave before the final fifth leg, and a fourth leg of the fifth leg, with the fifth leg essentially being capitulation, losing 50% of our value. That's what we expect to see, guys. This is very similar to what we saw in Bitcoin. Bitcoin was consolidating at this 6K level for a long period of time, and then we dropped straight down to 3K, a 50% haircut, essentially the same magnitude of a drop here, and then we continued up from there, right? If it's in fact, Bitcoin actually made a wave 1 and then made a wave 2 that almost hit 3,000 again, right? If you recall on the Bitcoin chart, we pumped up from 3.2K, 3.1K, went back down to 3.2K, and then we got our major pump up to 14K. So this looks very, very similar to what Bitcoin's doing right now in regards to capitulation, essentially a double bottom here, and then continuation up. So we're seeing almost the same thing that we saw in Bitcoin here on Energy Fuels Inc. All right. Now, where are we in the short term? Okay. So after seeing our capitulation here and the correction essentially coming to an end, in my opinion, I believe that this was the start of our next bull run. Our first main leg, this was our second leg, and I think we're working on the larger third here. All right. Now, this is where things get important. Okay. We know that wave 4 can never go into wave 1 territory by more than a wick. All right. So some were counting this as a third wave completed here, and they believe we were working on a fourth. This was not what I believed, and the reason for that is because our fourth wave here, as we can see, already entered wave 1 territory here, entered wave 1 territory here, was kind of lingering in this wave 1 territory. Yes, it's just by a wick, but it was kind of lingering in this wave 1 territory, and this is a weekly chart. So these are some pretty, it spent a lot of time here in this wave 1 territory. So my belief right off the bat was that this wasn't a 1, 2, 3 and we're getting our fourth. my belief was that this was part of a larger third, and that we were seeing a subwave 1, 2 of this larger third. All right, and I still believe that. I still believe that to be the case. And if we go out of log time frame real quick, we can see there that I guess it doesn't really make a difference actually, but the wave 4 entering this wave 1 territory a number of times. All right, and so this has always been my count, a 1 2 1 2. All right, now that's all I'm going to say for now. Essentially, I'm expecting a large move to the upside, and this retracement is fine. All right, let's take a look from now I'm going to stop talking about Elliott wave because a lot of people aren't familiar with it. Let's take a look from a simple support and resistance perspective and take a look at some other key indicators that I like to watch for changing bull and bear markets. All right. Now, from a simple support and resistance perspective, we're going to go out to the 3-week chart, which is a high time frame chart, and we're going to take a look at this major bounce level here that I've marked off. All right. Note that on the 3-weekly time frame, after we get our first impulse, we get our second wave correction. This level here on the 3-weekly has acted as major support and resistance, right? Rejection here, we broke above, fell back through. Rejection, 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 rejection. We finally broke above this 3-week level for the first time in April of 2018, all right? We hadn't broken above it prior to that since 2016, okay? So we finally broke above it, we retested it as support, and we've continued up. And now we're seeing another major correction take place here. A lot of people are panicking. A lot of people are panicking here. Panicked obviously when they sold here. I bought this dip and I bought it heavy. The reason why is because this is a retest of this 182 level. All right, we broke above it in March of 2018, and we've now officially come back to retest it in a higher time frame. All right, this level we could lose this level absolutely, but I don't think that's going to happen. All right, in my wave count, if this is a 1, 2, and this is the start of a third, it implies that we can technically go as low as 130 without invalidating the bullish structure here, right? If this is a subwave 1 within this larger third, and this is a wave 2, then our third wave can go up and from here, and this wave 2 can technically go as low as the low of wave 1, right? So it's valid from a wave count perspective, okay? But just looking at simple support and resistance levels, we can see this massive dump here, and we've bounced off of our bounce level. Okay, I want to see this level hold in a 3-week time frame close. As long as we can close above it, then I think we're good. If we close below it on the 3-week time frame and we get back below this major support, then things may look a little bit more bearish and we may consolidate here for a longer period of time. But as long as we're holding it on the 3-weekly, I'm not concerned. Okay, now add to that, let's take a look at RSI. Okay, if you guys have been following me for a while now, you're familiar with my idea on RSI about the 40 and 60 levels and how significant they are. Just to give you guys a quick example, we're going to take a look at the Brave New Coin Index for Bitcoin, and we'll relate it back to that. So the idea is, and I've mentioned this many times in my videos, that in the bull and bear markets, the 40 RSI level is maintained as support, all right? And in bear markets, the 60 RSI level acts as resistance, okay? Now note in this macro bull cycle, which I still think we're in on Bitcoin, and I've talked about this in my prior videos as well, we've maintained the 40 level throughout its entirety, all right? Even through these major corrections, we've maintained 40 on the 3-weekly time frame. This area has always acted as support, okay? If we go down to a smaller time frame like the weekly, and we take a look at one of these smaller cycles, we can see that during each of these corrections, we dip below the weekly level, but during each bull run, we maintain that 40 level. So note that this was a 2014-2015 bear market, then we came up from here, and then note that once we got above 40, we held this level constantly until we broke down from again when the next bear market was well in play, right? And that applies across the board if we go back in history to all of the Bitcoin bull and bear markets that we've seen here. If I just zoom out a little bit more, or zoom in a little bit more, we can see it here. So here again, bear market broke below 40, bull market started, held above 40, right? All the way till this level right here, 2014. Where was that? Oh, look, that was during the bear market, right? So this idea of 40 acting as support on higher time frames during bull markets and acting as and 60 acting as resistance on higher time frames during bear markets is something that can be seen in any market cycle, not just Bitcoin, not just uranium, not just gold. It's visible in gold and silver as well, but it can be seen and it can be recognized on any major cycle for any commodity or asset or whatever we're talking about, right? These levels are generally respected. So going back to Energy Fuels Inc., If we take a look at the high time frame, we can see that on the 3-weekly, we're approaching that 40 level as well. All right. So not only are we approaching major support here at 183, we're also about to touch that 40 level. And note that prior to this, we did break 60 to the upside. This indicates that this was a start of a bullish cycle. And now we're approaching 40, which is our primary bounce level for a bullish cycle. If we go to the 1 monthly, on the 1 monthly, we're also approaching 40, guys. This is a major support level that I would expect to hold if we really are in another bullish cycle. So not only are we hitting a valid retracement level for a corrective wave in an Elliott wave perspective after capitulation and a very clear looking move to the downside, but we're also approaching a major support here at the 40 level on RSI after going into overbought territory on the 3-weekly, signaling the start of some larger bullish move. So in my opinion, if we're going to bounce, we got to bounce here, guys. We're going to bounce off this 40 level on the 3-weekly. We're going to bounce off this 40 level on the monthly. We're going to bounce off this major support, or we're going to fall below it. We're going to fall below all these key levels, and then we're in for a larger consolidation period than originally anticipated. And in that case, this Elliott wave count would simply become, instead of this being a 1, 2, 3, the start of a third, this would morph then into a ABC X wave for further consolidation before we really get the bullish run. Now this can happen sometimes, guys. These X waves, essentially, the X waves are an example of a time where, for whatever reason, the bullish structure gets invalidated due to fundamentals changing or something of that sort, causing what should have been an impulse to break down into a 3-legged corrective wave. And essentially, that just means further consolidation, that we're not quite ready to start impulsing up yet. We formed another X wave, which is consolidation before a continuation in a downtrend, in this case further consolidation, before we get the bullish run. So any impulsive wave can break down into an X wave after the 3rd wave if it doesn't have enough momentum to carry it up for a 4th and a 5th. All right, that's something that can always happen. So it's something to keep in mind as a possibility, but keep in mind that if you research the fundamentals here, then this shouldn't concern you. Over time, this just means for me that I'll have to wait longer for this to start ramping up. But that aside, if we manage to hold this bounce level, hold the 40 RSI across the board, then this will essentially be the bottom of this correction and the local bottom for months to come, right? So note that even on Bitcoin, once we hit that 40 level on the higher time frames, once we hit that 40 level in the higher time frames, we essentially cycle all the way back up into our overbought territory to continue the bullish cycle. So this is a bullish cycle. It oscillates between 40 and 100. Now that we're at 40, we would then expect us to continue up into overbought regions and make some massive moves to the upside if we really are starting a new bullish cycle here on UUUU. All right. So just like Bitcoin, if UUU is approaching this 40 level and it holds, and we really are in a bullish cycle here, we'd expect to make a push back up all the way into overbought territory here in the 70s or 80s, and then come all the way back down. So this would be the optimal entry for longs here from a technical perspective in the grand scheme of things. All right. And that's why I'm so bullish here, and that's why I've loaded up, because if this is going to survive, this is literally the point of maximum financial return. And if it's not, then I'm fine with waiting for a longer period of time. I've only invested what I can afford to lose, and I've only invested what I can afford to not touch for another 5 years. So if it doesn't hold this level when we do break down, then I'm fine holding my investment. I think we're very close to the bottom where $1.89 really can't go below zero, obviously, and I think that this was a low. So even if we do dip below this level at 131, we go to maybe 110, whatever that level may be, I'm fine with holding at this point because I've done my research on the fundamentals, and I'm sure we're going to see an uptick in price soon, whether it be in a year or 2 years or 5 years. All right, I'm not concerned about that because the upside potential, again, is massive. But if we hold this level, guys, then you'll be getting in essentially at the absolute bottom for what could be a very wild ride. Note that the last time that we went from these levels up to our overbought territory, we made a move down from about $1.38 to $4. That is a 300% increase, right? 300% increase, and that was our first and the first subwaves of the larger waves. So this next move up can be expected to be a lot more, go a lot more higher than this last move of 300%. We could expect maybe from $1.89, maybe $6, $7, $10, right? 500, 600% off of these lows. If we take a look at the monthly chart, yeah, monthly also needs to bounce off this region. So that's my take on Energy Fuels UUUU and why I'm not panicking at all right now, and I'm very comfortable in my position. This sell-off was, if you look into the fundamentals, was caused by a major news event that had been building up for over a year now. So the sell-off was pretty drastic. It didn't pan out, or there was rumors before the announcement, and that caused the sell-off to occur, but the announcement ended up being not nearly as negative as it was made out to seem. So I think it was a very big overreaction, and we're still maintaining our bullish structure, so I'm not too concerned about this sell-off in that sense. This is UUU, guys. Let's take a look at my next stock of interest, NXE, NextGen Energy. All right. Now, this is another stock that I like a lot. One reason is because we have a very clear 5-wave impulse off of these lows here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have a very corrective move coming down after, right? So for NXE, I can see here a 5-wave move off the lows of 2015 of 27 cents. That took us all the way to $3.41, guys. That's a 12 times increase here. And we've been correcting since 2017 for about 2 years now. We're reaching my areas of interest. I made my first major buy here at 135. I think that we could come down to test the 119 area, but I expect that region to hold and then for us to continue this move to the upside. Take a look at RSI, guys. Take a look at RSI. And what do you note on the 3-weekly RSI? Once again, we have reached this major 40 level. Take a look at the monthly, and you can see that the monthly is also resting at this major 40 level after pushing into overbought territory here on the higher time frames. The key difference between this coin and the key difference between this share or this stock and UUUU is that UUUU was previously coming down from a major corrective wave and has just now started its impulse, whereas NXE has started its first major impulse in 2015. So it's ahead of the game right now. It already made its first major wave to the upside, and it's now correcting that, and we should expect a second major wave here. We know that impulses cannot just end in 5-wave moves. We also know that the last bull market ended in 2007. So this impulse started off a couple of years ago after the last major uranium bull market completed. So I don't think that this was a full cycle in and of itself. I think that this was the first major wave of the new cycle. It just started a lot earlier than other stocks in this sector did. And for that reason, with our monthly RSI approaching this 40 level, literally touching it right now, and our Elliott wave count telling us that we're likely in a very major bounce zone, I am very bullish on NXE as well. And I have picked this up for my portfolio also, knowing that if we're going to bounce, it's likely going to be at this region here, and then we'll likely push up into overbought territory again for the major third wave to the upside, which at the bare minimum will clear these highs here at 340 and will likely extend to $4 to $5, which is a 500% increase here on on NextGen Limited. So bullish on NXE as well, have made my spot buys. And again, the fundamentals, I've done research on the fundamentals for each and every company that I'm investing in, but the fundamentals for the sector as a whole are very strong, and then the fundamentals for each of these companies, in my opinion, are very strong as well. That on top of the technicals looking like we're essentially bottomed out here, or essentially at a very major pivotal point here, are telling me that it's the right time to buy if I'm going to buy. And if we do lose this level, and if we do drop back down, then it could imply that we see up to 70 cents. Because if we lose this second red block at 110, there's not much support here until we hit 70 cents. There's a gap here, liquidity void. So that would be the next target, which I don't think we'll get anywhere close to that. But the point of the matter is to know what the possibilities are in the worst case scenarios, and that is, in this case, I pushed down to 70 cents before continuation to the upside. Again, though, your risk to reward here is still massive, right? So you have a potential drop if we lose this region here, and if you were to enter today, for example, of 70 cents, but your potential gain is at the minimum. Oh, sorry, that was wrong. Let's go here with a long position. My bad. So your potential loss being a move down to 70 cents. Your potential gain at the very bare minimum is 2.5. It's a 2.55 R trade, but we know that wave 3 is going to clear much higher than the start of this wave 1. So you're looking at 4 to 5 R at the bare minimum. It just makes perfect sense from a risk to reward perspective. Aside from all the other fundamental aspects and all the other bullish aspects of the sector, the technical chart looks wonderful here as a buy for the local bottom. All right, so this is NXE. Now let's take a look at GVXXF, which is my third stock that I'm quite bullish about. So GVXXF here on the monthly has already started moving up off of the 40 level. We kind of settled at around 44 and saw a strong move to the upside from there. I don't think we're necessarily quite done here. Note that the 3-weekly did dip below 40, so now we're eyeing the monthly level to hold the 40 right here. And based off what I'm seeing here and the recent price action, we could see one more dip down here to the downside. So on the 3-weekly chart, again, we're taking a look at the 3-weekly. We have this major high time frame resistance, right? So acted as resistance here during the last bullish push to the upside. Right over here, we went to overbought territory, held 40, held 40, held 40. The dip below 40 implies this is a larger correction occurring, but on the higher time frames, can't actually see. There's not enough prices here to see the RSI on the higher time frames. On the higher time frames on this monthly, we want to see it hold at the 40 level. But again, on the 3-day, guys, we have this major support level here that we have been holding. Sorry, 3 weekly level, my bad. That we have been holding. It acted as resistance, acted as support. We lost it here during this major correction, and we've finally broken back above it for the first time since we broke it back above it in 2017. So 2 years later, we're finally getting back above this 3 weekly support. Okay, this current candle looks very bearish, all right, but it's not over yet. This candle closes on August 10th. That's when the 3 weekly candle closes, and this could very well be a wick down below before we close above. So basically what I'm looking for here on GVXXF is a 3 weekly close back above this 0.1343 level to maintain our breakout, right? If we close below, then it was a fake out. The breakout failed. We fell back into back below this high time frame resistance, and that would be bearish, and I'd likely expect then to see new lows here, possibly a dip into this 0.08 region, which was my primary buy region when I posted this chart months ago. But if we hold this level on the 3 weekly close, then that could imply that this was a breakout, this was a retest with a wick below to take liquidity and to buy from everyone who's panic selling right now, and then pop and close back above the 3-day level, which is essentially a breakout not only on this high time frame resistance, but also on this downward sloping trend line from our highs. So that would be very bullish. And frankly, it's kind of what I'm expecting to see here with all the fundamentals of the way that they are, right? So I'm bullish on all these stocks that I've shown you here on uranium. They're all showing me that they could be at local lows, and the upside potential across the board is massive. I'm very bullish on the sector as a whole after doing my research on the fundamentals. And so there's essentially, guys, if you're selling here, you're panic selling into the most opportune place to be buying. You're panic selling into a major support, a major pivot level, a major make it or break it level. It makes no sense to sell at these levels, in my opinion. Either we're going to break down, in which case there's only so much lower we can go, and sure, you can sell the breakdown if you want, but we're so close to the bottom it just doesn't make sense. Or we're going to hold this level, in which case you are literally entering in at the most opportune moment to take advantage of this next bullish move to the upside. So I'm not sure why anyone would be selling at this point in time now that we've seen these larger drops here to the downside over this last week or so. If you studied the fundamentals, you should not be panicking here. And if you are panicking, either you have too much invested right now, or you aren't confident enough in your investment because you haven't studied the fundamentals. There's got to be some reason why you'd be panicking at this point, and there's no need to panic based on what we're seeing, at least for these 3 stocks, right? So from a technical perspective, they're all looking great. Again, this 3 weekly close will be important for a lot of them. I want to see GVXXF close above this 0.1348 level on the 3 weekly close. I want to see Energy Fuels Inc. close above 183 on the 3 weekly level. It's already made a bounce off of 183. It's currently sitting at 190. A very nice movement today, actually, I think. Yeah, so we've bounced off of 176 all the way to 190 today. Some nice movement there. Obviously, also bullish divergences here on the daily, which is why I've been buying the crap out of this stock at these lows, and some nice wicks down here to the downside. But yeah, bottom line is, with this 3 weekly close, I want to see this. I want to see UU close above 183, which it's already above for now, and I want to see GVXXF close above that key level. And for NXE, let's take a look at NXE. I want to see it ideally hold this red block, and if not, then hold this secondary red block before going any lower. So everything looking good right now. All these stocks literally at the 40 RSI level on the monthly. This is where they need to bounce and where they will bounce if we're still bullish, guys. Absolutely no reason to be panicking right now. I have bought the dips. I have bought them heavy, and I'm prepared to wait it out in case we lose this level for another couple years if need be. This was my update on uranium, guys. If you guys have been investing in crypto, I highly recommend you research the fundamentals of the uranium sector. Find out why we're all so excited about the sector. There's a reason behind it. We're not investing in something for no reason. For me personally, I know that gold and silver miners are picking up right now. I just don't have time to focus on so many different markets at the moment. So I'm focusing on crypto and uranium as my 2 areas of interest. And down the road, if I get more time freed up, maybe I'll look into other sectors as well, because I'm sure many others are doing very well right now, are very promising. But for me, the upside potential on uranium is why I'm so interested and why I don't mind staying in this sector while I trade crypto throughout the rest of the day, right? So uranium moves a lot slower than crypto. This is a buy and hold investment, whereas crypto is something that I'll be trading quite often. But this was my update for uranium, guys. There's other stocks that I like in the uranium sector. Cameco Corp, I did buy some, but I ended up selling it again. It's at a great place from a technical perspective, no doubt about that. But I did end up selling it just because I realized that these uranium stocks for me are higher risk, higher reward plays, and I already have my safer investments done, I guess I should say. And I decided that with what limited funds that I am investing in the uranium sector compared to my overall portfolio, I'd rather put those in higher profitable, more profitable plays as opposed to the more conservative ones. Cameco being a more conservative play, it's a safer bet. It's like a blue chip of the uranium sector. So if you want to invest in a safer asset, Cameco is probably one to look into. But for me, because I have a limited amount of funds I'm investing in the uranium sector to begin with, I decided to go heavier in stocks like UUU, NXE, and GVXXF that have a lot more upside potential, in my opinion, than CCJ, and they're also at pivotal levels where I'm expecting a major bounce. So I did actually enter CCJ maybe last week because it looks at a perfect region to enter, and it still does. But I went ahead and just moved those funds over into UU to buy the dip because I like the potential there more for further upside. So, but I am bullish on CCJ. The reason why, guys, I'm not heavily invested in some of these other stocks like CCJ, Fission, FCU is another one that I like. The reason that I'm not invested in these stocks is because for me, they're not quite showing those signs that they've entered a new bullish stage yet. If you take a look at FCU, note that on the monthly, it's dipped below the 40 level, which tells me that we're still in a bear market here. It's still dropping, actually. Wow, yeah. So it's made new lows here. Still in a bear market. We're below 40. I want to see us get above this 40 level and ideally above 60 on the shorter time frame. So on even the 3 weekly, we haven't hit that yet. On the weekly, the last time we got above 60, we got above 60 here. So I'm looking for a break above 60 on like the 3 weekly and some sort of an impulse to move off the lows to get me interested in stocks like FCU. I was holding some positions initially in my retirement account, and I believe I since closed those a while ago. But FCU, and then I was invested in Denison. I still hold some Denison, actually. Denison is one that I still hold, but like FCU, it's not quite showing those signs yet. Actually, Denison is. Maybe that's why I'm still holding it. Let's take a look. Yeah, so Denison has made its way above the 40 level. Let's see, 3 weekly. It's above 40 on the 3 weekly. On the weekly, it did dip below 40. So Denison I'm holding a very small position in just because I really like the fundamentals, and I think that it could essentially pop at any time, and it's quite low. It's at 44 cents, prior high being at $14.28. So I just have a little moonshot bag of Denison right now. But for the most part, guys, I'm holding off on investing heavy in any stocks until I see those bullish signs that I like to see, essentially an impulse up, a break into overbought territory, and then ideally buying the retest of the 40 level in the higher time frames. That's my strategy for uranium stocks, and that's what I'm going by to invest heavily in them. UUUU, NXE, and GVXXF all meet that criteria with the initial move into overbought territory and now retracing and testing the key 40 bounce level in the higher time frames. And that's why I've invested heavily in those particular stocks. I think they're essentially leading the way for the next bull cycle in the uranium sector. So that's all I have for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. I do focus on crypto on my channel, but occasionally I will be making these videos on uranium. If you guys would like to stay up to date, make sure you subscribe so that you see them when they're released. I will be posting this video on Twitter as well. And as always, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to post them in the comments. And again, if you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. All right, thanks, guys.